Hi there, this is Patrick Durkin here with the Durkin Group at Keller Williams. This is our Quick Tip Tuesday videos that we like to do, and I'm actually joined today by my special guest, my mother, Sheryl, part of the Durkin Group. So, sorry, I'll give you your go ahead, say hi.
Hi.
Okay. So today we're actually going to talk about buyers, and I am excited to have my mom, Sheryl, talk about buyers because Sheryl and my father, George, started real estate over 3 decades ago. It's okay to say that, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's maybe. Okay. It's been a while.
So you met George in real estate school, correct?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
1980s?
Mid-80s.
Okay.
Yeah, we both got our licenses in 1986 and got friendly over going on the bus tour, viewing at properties. That one thing we don't do now anymore.
Yeah. So over that time, you've gravitated more towards home buyers, right?
Yes.
Working with home buyers. And what do you like most about home buyers?
I like to work with the buyers because I find it a challenge and I get a lot of pleasure out of finding someone their perfect home.
And so over that time, you've probably seen quite a few, challenging cases. And in today's market, I always like to bring this relevant to today's market. And a lot of times, we're working with buyers right now, and a lot of times we're seeing that buyers need to sell a home before they buy their new home.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so whether you're downsizing, whether you're upsizing, Sheryl and George are currently downsizing. They're pretty picky buyers.
We've been downsizing, trying to anyway, for about 2 years now.
If you know a good realtor, they are some good clients. So, but in all seriousness, how do we successfully buy a new house when you have a house to sell? It's a challenging part. How do we do that?
The most important thing is if you're out there looking at homes and you want to make an offer on a home, but you need to sell your home, you must at least have your home on the market. And also, not only on the market, but hopefully you have gone through your 10-day diligence period. The inspections have been done. The buyer's happy. The buyer has received the CIC package, which is the document that contains all the legal covenants, restrictions, codes, everything that has to do with the HOA, and the buyer has also approved that. And hopefully, if it's a financed transaction, the appraisal has been done and it has come in at value, agreed upon value. At that point, the seller of the home that you're looking to buy should be very satisfied that your transaction is going to successfully close.
So I'm going to stop you there. You mentioned 3 key components that I want to point out there. 1, you have your home on the market, listed for sale, most important. 2, you have an offer from a buyer and it's accepted. Why don't you just go out and look for a home right after that? You have a buyer that said, oh, here's my offer. I like it as a seller. Why don't I just go out looking for my new home after that? Why wait?
Because the buyer can easily change their mind within those 10 days, that diligence period, if he decides basically for any other reason that he doesn't want to go through with it, and then another seller is not going to want to accept your offer if you have to go through that again and find out that there's a very good possibility that the transaction will fall out.
So it's key to wait until the buyer decides. If they decide to do an inspection on your home, it's key to wait until that inspection is over and the due diligence period is over, so that that buyer doesn't just back out and now you
say,
right.
Absolutely.
Okay. And another important factor that you mentioned there is waiting until the due diligence is over. And if your buyer on your home is financing, we obviously want to make sure that it appraises for value, because the whole point being that if I'm the seller and I want to write an offer on my new home, that offer really isn't worth its weight in the paper that it comes on if my home isn't going to successfully close, right?
And we need to show proof of that.
Right. So take us to the finish line and wrap this up here. We're kind of towards closing on my house. I've identified my new home. I wrote an offer on it. That seller accepted my offer. I'm through the due diligence period. The appraisal came in. It's going to support the transaction going forward. We're almost to closing. I need time to move, right, as my new house. How do I do that if my house is going to close and then my new house I'm going to close my new house a week after my house closes? How do we successfully do that?
There's a way to do that, but then we would have to further negotiate after the fact, after initially, for what's called a rent back. If we can get the buyer to agree to go ahead and close as scheduled, possibly give us a week, 2 weeks, whatever we need to stay in our property, Sometimes they won't charge just the buyer for doing that, and sometimes they will. And that's one way that we can buy ourselves a little bit more time.
So the only thing I would add to that, if I may, is being from a former lending background, check with your mortgage lender on what they would allow for a seller rent back, meaning that if I need time and I'm requesting that the buyer of my home allow me to rent it back from them because they're the new owner, make sure with your lender on what the time restrictions are for allowability on that.
Right, because I believe if it's over 30 days, then they consider it not owner-occupant property, and they won't allow any more than that.
So check with your lender, and hopefully you're at the finish line there. We've obviously done this before successfully, and so that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this video, to bring guidance and value to you, those of you that may be in this position or may be in this position in the future. So until next time, we'll see you. Thanks again, Sheryl.
You're welcome, Patrick. Bye.
Bye.